What's up guys, this is Austin from Billetworkz. Today I'm going to show you how to retrofit your OEM dipstick with one of our new aluminum dipstick handles. So as you can see, our dipstick handles have two holes in them. The top hole is for all Subaru models with an EJ motor. The bottom hole is for all Subaru models with an FA motor. The FA motor comes in the 2015 and up WRX or BRZ. The EJ motors come in all STIs, as well as all WRXs up until 14. Now once you remove the factory dipstick handle from the dipstick, you'll see the FA model dipsticks already have a hole in the dipstick. So you'll just be able to insert that in and run the roll pin in through the bottom hole. The EJ models do not have a hole in the dipstick, so you'll have to drill the hole. First thing we'll want to do is cut off the existing yellow dipstick handle from the factory dipstick. And to do this, I'm going to take an angle grinder and I'm going to want to cut along the edge of the dipstick through the handle. I found that to be easiest, just a one straight shot cut to get right to the dipstick. So I'm going to place this in the vise and I'm going to make sure the dipstick is aligned vertically. That's so I can cut at it with the angle grinder. So I'm going to tighten this up and I'm just gripping on the cylinder here. Grab my angle grinder with a cut-off wheel. Like I said, I'm just going to cut vertically, and I'll know when I reach a dipstick handle because then it'll start shooting sparks. So when I go to pull the dipstick out of the handle, it should come out fairly easily. You don't want to put too much pressure on it, or else it might break. And you can see there might be some leftover residue from the dipstick handle. Just kind of wipe that off. The next thing we want to do is we want to mark the dipstick, and I'm going to put a center punch where we have to drill a new hole. So I'm going to take a set of calipers here. I'm going to go 11/16 from the end of the dipstick handle. The hole should fall a little bit before these two grooves here. So I'm going to set my calipers to 11/16. You can also just use a tape measure. Calipers are nice because it puts a nice scribe mark right on the dipstick. Now that I have 11/16 marked from the edge, I'm going to take my punch. This punch is spring assisted, so I can put a mark and just put pressure and it'll mark it. I would recommend either using one of these or a punch with a hammer. So I'm going to go right on that line. I'm going to make sure I'm centered from left to right. And with this punch, I can I'm going to hit it a couple times just to make sure. So the center punch puts a nice little indent on the dipstick, and that'll allow the drill bit to be centered so it won't walk side to side or right to left, because we want it to be centered on that, and we want it to make sure that it's 11/16 from the edge. So I'm going to put the dipstick in the vise so I can drill. Now it's a little tricky holding it in the vise like this. You just kind of have to make sure it's clamped well so it doesn't twist. Now I have a 5/64 drill bit, and that's going to be the right size hole to drill through here. So as you can see, the drill bit is the same size as the holes in the dipstick handle. So if you're not sure what size drill bit you have, you just want to match the holes in this. I'm going to put my safety glasses back on. I like to use just a tad bit of lubricant just to make sure the drill bit doesn't heat up too much and get dull. So just a little bit on there, make sure I can still see the punch mark. Make sure you're drilling straight. Now you want to make sure you use a nice sharp drill bit, since the dipsticks are fairly hard material. So since we've drilled our hole in our EJ dipstick, the EJs require you to use the top hole. You don't want to use the bottom hole, or else then it's going to give you an inaccurate reading when you check your oil levels. So we want to make sure we use the top hole. That will go inside the dipstick handle. Then we'll use the supplied roll pin, and we're going to punch it through the hole, through the dipstick handle, and it'll be held into place. I'm going to go ahead and put the new dipstick handle in the vise. Now, I like to use a piece of cardboard just to protect the new dipstick handle. I didn't use this with the factory dipstick handle. So again, I'm just going to clamp on the cylinder. I like to use the punch just to locate the dipstick handle, just to make sure it's through the right hole. And if I look through there, I can actually see down through the other side, and I can see the workbench. So I like to take a needle nose pliers just to hold the roll pin in place. So I'm going to continue to drive this roll pin through the dipstick handle. And as long as you have the dipstick hole aligned with the roll pin, it should just drive right through. So I got it the majority of the way through. So I'm going to use my punch just to finish it off, just to make sure it's flush. And you can see the roll pin does not stick out on either side. And the dipstick is now secure in the new dipstick handle. So then just make sure you install the O-ring onto the dipstick handle. That'll of course give you a good seal when the dipstick handle is in the dipstick tube. So now that you've finished retrofitting your factory dipstick with our new dipstick handle, you can install it in your car, send us a picture, and we'll share it on social media. See you at Billetworkz.